From SQL queries to streaming seas, event-driven data flows with ease. We shape the stream, set insights free with Kafka's real-time symphony. Tim Berglund joins us for a brew, Confluent tales and database views, designated drivers tech review, where Apache Superset breaks through. Raise your glass to the data sky, where streams of information fly. Complex tech simplified nearby, with every bite new insights shine. Join us now, let's raise the bar, with databases near and far. Apache Superset, our guiding star, and Kafka streaming fast and far.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Designated Driver. This is our 6th episode, and today we have Tim Berglund from Confluent joining us, which is awesome. This is the happy hour podcast from Preset/Superset, where we talk about different database drivers and related topics, usually over a beverage of some sort. And for those who don't know Superset and Preset, I'll just say very quickly that it's a BI tool. You can query basically anything that speaks SQL and build all kinds of charts and graphs and dashboards and things. And if you get it with Preset, it's super easy peasy. You get AI assist and all sorts of fun stuff. So look it up. And that's all the spiel I'll give for now, but we'll make a couple of quick introductions. I'll go first and introduce myself and my beverage. I'm Evan Rusakis. I'm with the Apache Superset PMC, and I work as a developer advocate with Preset. And today seems fitting since I don't know enough about Kafka and Confluent. I'm going to have a little continued learning if I can get my camera to focus.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my beer of the day. And I'll pass it over to Beto.
Okay. Hey. Yeah, my name is Beto. I work at Preset with Evan. I'm a software engineer. Been working with Superset for 7 years now. And a lot of the work I do is connecting Superset to different databases or even things that don't speak SQL by writing a SQL translation layer. Yeah, and today I have some wine. I got this Moscato from Italy.
Okay.
Because we know that Kafka, his last book was called The Castle. So
okay.
This is
Castillo. Okay.
Castel del Poggio. Yeah. So it's
I like it.
Yeah, that's my connection with Kafka.
So here's my thing. I would be drinking an old fashioned. That's kind of usually my cocktail of choice. As we record this, it's 2 p.m. in Pacific time where I am, and I've got the rest of the afternoon, like actually some like budget and OKR things to do. And I went with no drinking right now. That'll be later.
That's fine. We'll take a rain check.
While we're on it, my wife and I just celebrated our first anniversary. We were in Maui, and a lot of Mai Tais. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, old fashioned is an excellent choice. We can dive into the details of that if you want, because there's a lot of ways to success there. But yeah, we'll take you up on a rain check.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll just say maple syrup instead of simple syrup for the win.
Yep.
Yes, correct. I've been actually wanting to try there's this Whistle Pig maple syrup I've been wanting to get my hands on.
Okay.
Yeah, they grow their own maple trees to make the syrup, then they grow their own oak to make their barrels, and then they age the maple syrup in their bourbon barrels.
Maple syrup. Note taken.
Yeah.
Onto the podcast.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Remember that they're creating their own universe, Evan, so they can really do it from scratch.
True.
That's the hard part.
That it is. So speaking of beginnings, Tim, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your origin story and how you got into the project and kind of, where did you step into the picture with Kafka and Confluent and all of this?
Sure. I mean, deep origin stories. I started my career as a firmware developer in the 90s, a lot of C and assembly language and oscilloscopes and soldering irons, the way software should be written. And then I kind of moved into the full stack Java web developer world for a while, pivoted from there into technology training. I discovered that I liked teaching. I was good at writing curriculum, and that was a fun thing to do. And It paid better. It was independent at the time. It was just, you could bill more. It was all kinds of good things. Kind of got into conference speaking because I guess I like attention. I just felt sort of a draw and a call to do that kind of thing. And nobody back around 2010, nobody really said developer relations, but eventually that, through a series of roles, kind of evolved into that sort of vision that I have now. First got involved with Kafka in 2017 when I joined Confluent the first time, and I'm not a committer on the project. My kind of mission around it was to make it easier to use and adopt, and for the folks actually using it, not the folks building it, because they already know who they are and know what they're doing. But there's this whole world full of people who kind of need to get to know Kafka, and that was really the mission. And I was with Confluent the first time for 4.5 years. Spent a couple years at a great company called Startree, working with, I'd say, an adjacent technology, Apache Pinot, which 100% belongs on this podcast at some point in the future.
Oh, yes.
Lots of Superset and Pinot stuff in the world.
Yeah.
And just 1 month ago tomorrow, as we record this, it's July 2nd, will be it's been about a month that I'm back at Confluent leading the developer relations team there. And again, I view my work as helping my fellow developers through an adoption and hopefully success journey with this technology.
Well, congrats on the homecoming. That's fantastic, and kudos on doing a great job in the role. I actually just watched. I don't know how old it is, but your Kafka 101 YouTube series, that was fantastic.
Wow.
And I was thinking,
yeah, that was
right.
about 3 years. Summertime. Yeah, about 3 years ago, I was recording that.
And I was like, oh, I need to.
I thought I looked
completely
kind of
rip off this
sweaty in those videos. I must have been outside recently or something. I don't know.
Well, now surely there's some AI to fix that. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or makeup.
I mean, that's the little blotter. Anyway.
So yeah, I guess similar question, kind of, but maybe what's the background of the project itself? If you can give us a little bit of that history. I mean, its use cases are all over the place for people to discover that they don't already know that. But I'm kind of curious. I always like to ask, what was sort of the aha moment that woke somebody up in the middle of the night and said, "I've got to build this thing"?
Yeah. Well, it happened at LinkedIn in about 2010, coming up on 15 years ago. There was a lot of Hadoop going on then, which would have been, kind of, that was the time people were doing that. Moderately early adopters, but not that early. And it was a social media site, and they were trying to figure things out about how people were using it. And that involved, at the time, a lot of batch processing. And these batch jobs, they still exist. It's not like they're something of the past, but they always involve moving, a lot of data from there to here, and then doing some computational work on it. And they tend to be brittle, right? Those batch pipelines are always breaking, and there's an escalation, and you got to fix it. And it was, there were a few people working in this sort of analytics space there. According to legend, one of them, Jay Krebs, Neha Narkidi, and Jun Rao. And according to legend, over Christmas break one year, Jay rage coded the initial version of Kafka in Scala as this distributed log, with the idea that, why are we moving big piles of data from place to place to do work on them?
Mm-hmm.
Why not kind of treat that like a stream and start to do computation in real time on those events as they move around? So it started, I think it has analytics in its origins, and that's still a super interesting thing about the data streaming world. As somebody whose real background is in application development, its impact on application architectures is I think even more interesting, but that was a later thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's the value proposition of moving everything to real time makes a whole lot of sense. I think that, you can have various applications and parts of your architecture kind of subscribing to topics in real time and just getting what they need at that moment. But I guess from the Superset standpoint, usually it's more of a historical time series analytics kind of angle.
Yes.
So that's where the intermediary kind of comes into play in most use cases. And like you mentioned, Pinot is one choice. There's probably many others that would fit that role. But
I mean, yeah, in the case of Superset, right? It's
yeah,
anything that speaks SQL, or as Beto said, some things that don't. That sounds terrible. But yeah, Pinot is as a part of the story, actually. So, and from a BI perspective, it makes a lot of sense to talk about it. So that group that made Kafka, an adjacent group, as the first 3 years of Kafka's life at LinkedIn, not exploding as an open source project really yet, or maybe just starting to. There was another group, and you remember back then LinkedIn was not the vibrant social media site that it is now. It was like your Rolodex and your resume, and you didn't go there very often. And there was, I need to find who this PM was, but some brilliant product person said, hey, we need to make it so that you can see who viewed your profile in real time. And that was the crack in the dam. To do that, and to do it in real time with the tools that they had like some kind of document database, I think. They built it out. And again, according to the Pinot origin stories, it was 1,000 nodes of compute and not fast enough and super expensive. And this group, led by Kishore Gopalakrishna, who's the founder of StarTree now, and Zhang Fu is, the co-creators of Pinot. They didn't want to make a database, which I just, every time I tell the story, I need to highlight that. Because if you make a new database, you have to give an account of yourself, right? Like you need to, it's not an apology necessarily. Maybe it's an apology, but it's at least an explanation to the world of why you have done this to them. And they tried not to. They thought, what a terrible life choice. We know this is a trap. Everybody does it. It's usually stupid. And it wasn't. They were actually, you want the people who do that to be reluctant, right? And so to really power who viewed my profile, they brought it from 1,000 nodes down to 75 nodes, and it was faster. And so you've got, a database that does multiple hundreds of thousands of concurrent queries, sub 100 millisecond latencies on, filter group aggregate type analytics queries. And so putting something like that behind Superset in, so the Kafka, Confluent, Pinot, Superset sort of the Tim story here, these all make sense because once you have really adopted Kafka as your data substrate, and it's got all of these architectural sensibilities that it is sort of suggesting to you, and there's sort of this implication that people out there in the world are expecting things to happen right away. Like somebody tapped on their phone and they are, as a person, quite synchronous. They're just sitting there waiting, right? You got Kafka doing that to you. And now, I hinted before Kafka's application or Kafka's impact on application architectures. Kafka is sort of co-evolving with the idea of microservices. At the time that, according to legend, Jay is in his basement rage coding Kafka, there are conference speakers talking about microservices and what a great idea it's going to be, and a bunch of people failing. Like it was mostly a bad idea back then. But the marriage of ubiquitous event logs and little pieces of software that are performing a small task and interacting and exchanging events, that has proven very, very successful. And so now you've got, instead of monoliths where all the data is in one place, you've got all these event logs and all these things happening. And you've got this problem of how do I get insights into what has just happened? Now you can dump it all into a data lake and do batch things, and that's fine. Maybe that actually works. And a lot of the time it does. But again, once you have kind of adopted these real-time sensibilities, and the things that have made you want to build real-time systems are quite exogenous. They're cultural trends. They're changes in the way people behave because they have smartphones. You can't do that all the time. Now you need a database that is behind your BI front end that speaks real time. And so that's why things like Pinot have emerged alongside all of these other parts of the movement.
Yeah, I have a lot of interesting commentary. Like you mentioned, like the first question we usually ask is why did you create this database exactly? Because there are so many databases, but every database has something unique, something special, and
Really,
angle.
like answer for yourself. Well,
Yeah,
this one does this one thing to it's yeah. You don't want that.
That was actually
yeah.
one of the reasons we started this little podcast. Is Superset connects to so many of them, and we kind of wanted to figure out why do you all exist.
Right.
You want to
Right.
blame them? Why not just one database? And it was interesting. I like the story of the Christmas hacking. I think Redis
Yeah.
was also written like in a day or two, like the first version of Redis, and
Yeah.
it was
At least
like
it was
100
written in
lines of
C.
code. Yeah, you can still
Yeah.
find the original Redis online. It's like 100 lines of code, and it's like, but
Nice.
the core concepts are there, and I assume for Kafka it's the same because it's such a simple concept. I think that's what always attract me about Kafka is like how simple it is. It's like, well, we have this log, and you write to it, and you can
Uh-huh.
run it, and you know where you stopped. Like it's like a book.
Yep. And even as it has evolved and is not anything like what it was 14 years ago, there really has been a lot of discipline in the project, as I say, to keep brokers dumb.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tremendous amount of temptation to push functionality into brokers, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the leadership of the project has done a great job being disciplined about that. And I mean, yes, brokers have changed and gotten smarter, but not in the ways that you'd want. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why can't I go run WebAssembly in there or something? It seems like I should be able to. That's the Kafka's kept that at bay, and I think that's that drive for simplicity is key to its success.
So is that a hard thing? Like, is there a lot of like pressure from users or
No, I don't see that kind of pressure. I like people clamoring for it and having to get in arguments. I don't see that. I just the the draw is going to be there, right? You're going to
Mhm.
want to like why not put compute there? Because otherwise, you got to move it across the network. Better not to, right? Yeah, and so that opens a ball of wax, and other things like why not push to
Mhm.
consumers instead of pull? And hey, that might happen at some point. Maybe there'll be a kip for that, right? That's going to put a lot more state in the broker, and
Yeah.
that's going to change the way they scale. But to get to this point, it's been pull, which to me is counterintuitive. And when I mentioned for a reason my career started as a firmware developer, the idea of polling for an event in that world is like, okay, if that's what you have to do, but it's kind of
Mhm.
bad.
Yeah.
And Kafka's built that way. But again, there's a very good reason why.
Yeah.
And that's to help keep state out of the brokers.
And you mentioned KIP. A KIP is a Kafka improvement proposal, right?
Sorry, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we
That's
actually
a
like
big
Superset.
chunk of new work.
Yeah, Superset has SIPs, which are appropriate for our podcast, but like our SIP approach, like SIP 0 that we had, was actually based on the Kafka model workflow.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious. You said that Kafka has changed a lot over the years since its inception, which kind of begs the question: where do you see the project going? What are some of the like big events you see on the roadmap? What are the aspirations of the project at this point?
That is a good question. And having been away from finger on the pulse for a couple of years, I don't have a super clear sense of where all those things are right now. Ask me in a few months and I will.
That's fine. We'll promise.
One
We'll have you back.
I can name is queuing. So a lot of people will, when becoming familiar with Kafka, refer to it as a queue. It's not, it's a log. And in fact, if you, I mean, there's a sort of abstractly queue-like semantics of the order that things sort of come out in. But if you actually want it to act like a queue, it doesn't. If what you want to happen when you consume a message is that no one can ever consume it again, that functionality is not available to you. Well, there's a kip in flight for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, okay, we'll start doing that. And that's in my experience anyway, has been an interaction with the Pulsar community, because Pulsar does have that queuing capability. And so when you really need that, that sort of pushes you over to the Pulsar side of the fence. And I don't think it's an enormous change for Kafka to add that. So it's an example of, good interplay between projects and competitive pressure doing what it should do.
Okay. Well, speaking of doing what we do, I always ask guests one very important question as a bit of a personality test.
Okay.
I'm just curious, what do you have on your desk that might be something unusual that's kind of you? Or at least, conversationally interesting.
Okay. I can do a few things.
Ooh.
This is an old one now. This is a little more than a year old. It's my second born grandson. His mom,
Nice.
little needlepoint thing here. He's just over 2 now. And he has a baby sister who is about a month old.
Congratulations.
Insanely cute. And let's see, I'm looking around here. I got some AirPods. I have no idea why or how this is here. And frankly, it seems a little bit sad. Like I'm holding on to past glory. This is a gavel.
What?
That I won in my senior year of high school, which was Czech's Notes 35 years ago. This is 1989. For Speaker of the House of Student Congress. Why is this on my desk? I couldn't tell you.
I like to hope you use it in Zoom meetings all the time.
There you go.
Or for the kids, you can approve.
Yeah. Do you never?
So
it hasn't been on your desk for 35 years, right?
It has not. No, it's been in boxes and on shelves and just kind of hither and yon. And it just showed up here. So there you go.
Well, keep it handy. I know exactly how we're closing out the episode now.
Love it.
Very cool. And I guess another thing I should ask is, it's kind of conference season, which maybe is all year round now. I don't know, but it feels like this is when things are warming up. Do you have any events on the horizon that you want to plug?
Absolutely. I don't know when this will be going live.
Probably within a week or so.
Okay. Well, that'll be just right on in terms of places I know that I'm speaking. There's UberConf that takes place in Westminster, Colorado, which is just very near where my wife and I have a place in the Denver area. So it's always good to get back to kind of home city, and it's great, kind of Java centric, lots of data infrastructure, some soft skills things, good mix, good crowd, great speakers. Always love that place, and lots of good friends there. Ahead of that, there is, of course, Current Confluence event in September. So you put a link in the show notes to that. I will not be speaking there, but I'll be around and on stage, and I'll be there. In between, JavaZone in Norway. So any listeners on the European side, JavaZone is a absolute top tier Java event in Norway, and really, most of it is in English. There are a few sessions in Norwegian, so anybody English speaking in all of Europe, can't recommend that event enough. It's usually near 3,000 people, very classy 2-day event.
Okay, fantastic. Then if UberConf is, you said it's out here in Denver?
Yes, it's in Denver, and checks dates. July 16th through 19th.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look me up when you're out here. Maybe I can buy you that beer that's missing at the moment.
Love it.
And I guess from our end, we're trying to plug the Open Source Analytics Conference that's coming up in November.
Yes.
So there will be a lot of good stuff there. It's free. It's virtual. Nobody has any excuse not to attend.
There you go.
Cool. Well, any other sort of shout outs or announcements or questions?
No, none yet. Lots of exciting things going on Confluent Developer, developer.confluent.io. A lot of things in the works there. We've got some new Flink courses coming out soon. Looking to update our Kafka material, which is 3 years old. Some guy named Tim will get that refreshed soon, and hopefully a lot of other features just to make it a a more useful experience to learn about the technologies of the data streaming world generally. Not just Kafka, but Flink and everything else, everywhere else data might need to go in the real-time world.
Okay, fantastic. Well, for anybody that wants to try this all out, there's blogs on the Kafka and Confluent sites about how to connect with Superset and vice versa. So check it out, kick the tires, give everything a try, and we hope you're stoked. So, all right, we'll pass it to you, Tim, to close out the episode officially. Let's hear it.
So ordered.
All right. See you next time, everybody. Thank you.
See you. Thanks, Tim.